If you click this video, you're probably curious on what getting better at golf actually looks like. Obviously, your scores are the true litmus test, but I think a lot of golfers don't know what the next level looks like and it holds them back. So in this video, I'm going to reveal what's behind the curtain. You're either going to get a little nugget of an idea that you can use, or it's going to reaffirm that you are heading in the right direction. Just in case you don't know me, my name is Jon Sherman. I am the author of the best-selling book, The 4 Foundations of Golf, co-host of The Sweet Spot, and PGA Tour coach. But most importantly, I am a golfer just like you. All right, here's the first sign that you're getting better. You're not taking gimmies or mulligans, or at least you're taking less of them. A lot of golfers hold themselves back from the next level because they have all kinds of mental crutches and they don't have enough personal accountability in their games. And one of the most common ones out there is taking breakfast balls on the first tee or generous gimmies from your buddies. No judgment here, we've all done it at some point. But if you are interested in getting better and more importantly building a stronger mental game, you need to get rid of these. Part of getting better at this game is confronting your discomfort. This could be your first tee nerves or standing over that 3 or 4 foot putt, knowing that no matter what you do, it's going to count. Now, if you're waiting for your buddies to give you a generous re-tee if things don't go well, then how can you ever expect to face that shot with more confidence? And this goes way beyond mulligans and gimmies. Mental crutches show up in so many different ways in this game, like blaming a distracting playing partner or that you didn't like the golf course and that's why you didn't play so well. Golfers are really good at not taking responsibility and blaming external factors for their performance. Trust me, I know from personal experience. But I can tell you that this was one of the biggest differences for me playing at a much higher handicap level versus getting down to scratch and beyond. And I'm always noticing it in all the great tournament players that I get to play with all the time. So start looking at your game and see where you can get rid of these crutches and take more ownership. Now let's move on to number 2. You're not hitting 2 bad shots in a row. Whenever I look at the difference between a scratch level golfer versus someone who is really close to their level, it's more about their uh-oh shots than it is about their best shots. Let me explain for a second. Most would assume that better golfers are hitting more spectacular shots, and to some extent they are. But the main thing that I've noticed between elite golfers and the rest of the pack is the concept of hitting 2 bad shots in a row. They just don't do it as often. Now, this is a combination of many things. A lot of it has to do with their physical skills and technique. But even when these better players do get into trouble, they'll make the smart decision and get back to safety rather quickly. They're not going to panic after they hook a drive or chunk a wedge. There's a bit of confidence there that they can bounce back. So this is something that you really have to pay attention to in your own game. And it's not really about your initial mistakes. Those are always going to happen. But when they do happen, are you compounding them with another mistake due to losing your temper, making bad decisions, or something more specific in your golf swing? Now, the third sign you're getting better at this game is that you're missing greens better. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I think tracking traditional statistics like fairways hit and putts per round is not helpful because they just don't provide enough information. But the one stat that is directly correlated with scoring is greens in regulation. Now, generally speaking, the more greens you hit, the lower your scores are going to be. It's usually a straight line. That's why I'm always telling everyone, if you want to shoot your absolute best scores, you have to build your game around hitting more greens in regulation. Now, that's a combination of your performance off the tee, approach shot play, as well as your overall strategy. But here's an even more important metric that most wouldn't track. What's happening when you miss the green? Now, there is a big difference between leaving yourself an easy chip shot with plenty of green to work with, or short-siding yourself in the bunker, or leaving yourself a 40-yard pitch shot. Now, some would call this stat an almost green in regulation or a near green in regulation. Essentially, you're tracking how many times around when you do miss a green are you leaving yourself with a close, more importantly, straightforward wedge shot. And this means you can get it on the green and 2-putt most of the time for a bogey at worst, or of course get up and down for a par. Now, if you track this stat and do it more often, your scores are going to plummet because you are reducing double bogeys or worse. So yes, I do love tracking greens in regulation, but it can be a little demoralizing at times. Even the best golfers are hitting about 50 to 60% of their greens at most. But looking at 25% isn't exactly inspiring at times. So that's why having this separate stat of near green bearings and regulation can help motivate you to make better decisions and track your ball striking. Approach play is where golfers separate the most from each other, so this is really important to pay attention to in your rounds. Now, before we get into the next sign you're getting better, I just want to share a quick message from the sponsor of this video, Factor. Eating clean is really important to my wife and I, but it's hard to do with a busy schedule and our kids. So instead of ordering a quick cheat meal when we're short on time and can't cook, we fill in with Factor's fresh, ready-made meals that are never frozen. We're simply throwing them in the microwave for 2 minutes and we are good to go. Now, Factor just introduced their healthiest menu yet. It is massive. They've doubled it to over 80 rotating weekly meals to choose from. So whatever type of diet you're on, whether it's high protein or low carb, you can choose between a ton of different cuisines, and to be honest, they all taste great. I've tried many of them at this point. Now, I'm doing my best to work out and eat clean, and when we don't have time to cook, these meals are our savior because they're so quick. So if you want to hit your wellness goals, we have a special offer for our YouTube channel. Head to Factor75.com or click the link in the description below and use promo code PracticalGolfFB50 to get 50% off plus free breakfast for the year. That's Practical Golf FB50 at Factor75.com to get 50% off plus free breakfast for 1 year. Now let's get back. The fourth sign that you're getting better at golf, you are mastering the intangibles. Now, the reason I started creating game improvement content over a decade ago is because I felt like playing skills were being ignored by the coaching community. Now, there is an endless supply of swing tips on YouTube, and there always have been, even in the magazines that I used to read when I was a kid. But I always felt that the intangibles of the game were just as important, and they can only be mastered by playing enough golf and trying to figure it out on your own, or hopefully learning these things from a great coach to bypass those years of trial and error. So what are these intangibles? Well, it's a lot of things. It's feeling the wind or change in elevation and factoring that into the club you're going to select for your next shot. It's managing all of the distractions that you face on the golf course, which could be from playing partners, or even how you're scoring that day and how you're managing that in your mind. It's being able to make strategic decisions quickly without having to take up too much mental energy. It's also knowing when you need to make an intervention in your swing or simply stay the course. I kind of wrote a 420-page book about all of this, so the list is quite long. But I cannot stress how important it is to feel comfortable on a golf course. This is something I'm always reminding golfers of. A lot of us get fooled into thinking we're much better than we are because of the way we hit it on the practice range. And then we're not the same player on the course, and that is a bit frustrating because we don't have these intangibles mastered, and it limits us from reaching our potential. Here's the next sign that you're getting better at this game. Your club is making a different noise at impact. Years ago, I was playing down in a tournament in Bermuda at Port Royal, where they're currently holding the PGA Tour event. It was a really good field, and one of the players I was interested in seeing was the reigning US mid-amateur champion. As I was warming up on the range, I knew exactly who he was without even looking because I could hear it. The surface on the range was really sandy, and it made hitting shots heavy really easy. And I, along with many of the other players on the range, was not making a great sound at impact. But this one player's noise was different. The thud was noticeable, and of course it did turn out to be this guy. And when you do hear this difference in sound, it really means that the player has impeccable low point control, and they are a master at centered contact on the face. Even top PGA Tour players always talk about how Tiger's ball made a different sound at impact than everyone else. Impact location and ground contact are two impact skills that really separate scoring levels. And when you start progressing from those horrible clanking noise from off-centered contact, or that muffled sound where you're striking the ground a few inches behind the ball, to that cleaner, crisp sound, you know that your game is heading in the right direction. It's not always what we see with better golfers, it's also what we hear at times. Now, the sixth sign that you are getting better at golf is that you are reacting to targets instead of swinging to them. So many golfers get stuck in swing jail without even knowing it. So they're not really playing golf, they're just really playing golf swing. But my goal for myself and all of you is to play in a more athletic, instinctual way. You're gonna go through your process before each shot, hopefully choosing a good target and setting your intentions. And then the last few seconds is not going to be a checklist of the 5 things that you wanna do in your takeaway, transition, and even your downswing. It's gonna be a more simple, generic thought. For example, on the putting green, you might be locked in with your speed to your targets. With your wedges, you might just be trying to brush a blade of grass in front of the ball. Or you might be thinking about your swing tempo with your driver. And even if it is a swing thought, maybe it's just one. Golf is a hard game because it's stationary and we have so much time to think about what our body is about to do. But my philosophy has always been that you want to create your own rhythm and timing with your routine so that you can execute like you would in other sports. And the idea is that you are reacting to your target versus totally stuck about what your body has to do to make the golf ball go where you want it to go. Do you think Tom Brady was thinking about what his arm was doing before he threw a pass? No, because he had less than a second to make the decision before getting killed by a lineman. Now, obviously, we don't have the same challenge that he did, but I do think that most golfers would be far better off if they can get to a place where they move beyond swing mechanics and to be more of an athlete on the course. All right, on to number 7. You are not riding the scoring roller coaster. Now, you've got two basic choices as a golfer when it comes to scoring. You can let the randomness from hole to hole, or even from one round to another, drag you through this game, or you can keep more of a rational, long-term view of your game that you understand there will be short-term disruptions. Golf is so much harder when you ride this roller coaster. You get way more upset and you react to emotion when your C game inevitably shows up. We just can't avoid this, and I find a lot of players get stuck fighting against this scoring volatility that's never going to go away, and they're trying to control something that they truly cannot. It's kind of like how I deal with turbulence on a plane. I know it's coming and I know it's a normal part of flying, but when I do get nervous from it, I tense up my body and it really makes things worse. But instead, if I just consciously relax myself and feel like my body is moving with the plane, then I'm okay. So whatever metaphor that you need to choose, whether it's the roller coaster, turbulence, or something else, think about what's happening when a bad stretch of holes shows up, or even when your game gets in a bit of a rut for a month or more, which is completely normal. Are you letting golf jerk you around a bit? Or are you staying a bit more level-headed and understanding that it is a normal part of the game? Let's move on to number 8. You know the value of a good bogey. Now, everyone knows the value of a good par. That's an easy concept to understand. It's technically our goal on every hole. But all of the better players know that your round never unfolds the way we want it to. Things can go sideways rather quickly with 1 or 2 errant swings. And it's so easy to get stuck with that same expectation. What can I do to make a good par and save this hole? But that can lead to even bigger mistakes and bigger numbers. The real sign that you're getting better is that you can quickly shift your mindset. Now, when you are in trouble, instead of pressing and doing something stupid, you can quickly do the harder thing, which is to think critically and place more value on making a good bogey and avoiding that huge number. Now, that simple, really basic decision can save strokes in a hurry. I'm always talking about it. And it's honestly how most of you are going to break through to different scoring milestones. We don't always get what we want in this game, and it's really hard to shift our expectations downward at times. But when you can really understand the value of a good bogey, I assure you that your game is going to reach new heights, as hard as it is to accept at times. Now, the 9th sign you are getting better at this game, even if your scores don't show it, is that you're having more fun. This seems so obvious, but a lot of golfers forget to check in on this one. Now, I fell in love with golf over 30 years ago, and I remember how exciting and fun it was in the beginning to learn the game with my childhood friends. But along the way, as I did get better, my scoring expectations and desire to improve made it less fun at times. Unfortunately, I fell into a few ruts where I felt like golf was more of a chore, and it was really only fun when I was playing well. So I do think a sign that you're getting better at this game is that you can enjoy yourself no matter what happens out there. We all have to deal with the wide range of scores we're going to shoot, no matter how good we get at this game, whether you're a tour player or even a 5, 10, or 20 handicap. And a lot of these scores will be on the higher end as much as we try and fight against it. So I think you're a really successful golfer if you can find ways to look beyond that and still enjoy your time on the course no matter what score you shoot. It's something that I'm always asking myself after I play to see if I was maybe a little too intense with my competitive side and just lost sight of the fact that it's a gift that I got to play in the first place. Now, when I asked on Twitter what's the most common sign that your game is heading in the right decision, by far and away the most common response was the correct one in my opinion. You are finishing more rounds with the same golf ball. And this is really a sign that you're making fewer mistakes off the tee with with your driver and approach clubs. Foul balls are statistically the leading cause of double bogeys, and I'd say the biggest indicator that you are getting better at this game is that you're having to replace balls because they got worn out, not because you lost them. Another honorable mention for my Twitter responses are that better players are inviting you to their games as a sign that you are becoming a stronger golfer. Now, this is something that I've definitely noticed in my progression in golf. For better or worse, there is a little bit of a barrier of entry into those better games at your club or amongst your social group of golfers. And when you can start proving to the better players that you can handle your game a bit more under pressure, you do start getting more of those invites. And last but not least, I have to say that this response from a follower is perhaps one of my favorite quotes. Getting better at golf is like diligently investing your money in low-cost index funds while simultaneously playing gas station scratch-offs. I'm not sure exactly why, but I think that's a great explanation of golf. So let me know some more signs that your game is headed in the right direction in the comments section below, and help your fellow golfer with some ideas on how to get better at this game. And of course, if you want the full blueprint on how to build a stronger game, check out my best-selling book, The 4 Foundations of Golf, on Amazon. And the YouTube algorithm thinks that you should watch this video of mine next.